What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to Matchday Reloaded live, but not live, pre-tape, pre-recorded in Panenka Studios. Yes, that's what the name was. I asked you guys last time. I said, I feel like we should name this place something. Not sure what it's going to be, not sure what it could be, and you did not disappoint. You put your comments in the comment section below, and my favorite by far was Panenka Studios. So here we are at Panenka Remote Studios, virtual studios, to discuss Manchester United's 3-0 victory over Charlton Athletic last night in the Carabao Cup. Of course, it's the day after the night before. We are through to the semi-finals. Yes, last night was a quarter-final tie. We are through to the semi-finals and possibly one step closer to maybe, just maybe, winning a trophy. Erik ten Hag again. Since we come back from the World Cup, all we've been doing is winning game after game after game after game. Now, I understand what people will say, yeah, but Owen, look at the sides we've faced. It's Burnley, it's Bournemouth, it's Wolves, it's Everton, it's Charlton. We should be winning those games, and we should. But the important thing is that we are winning those games. Yes, goals last night from Anthony and 2 late goals from Marcus Rashford did the job for us, and we're now into the hat for the semi-finals, of course, this evening is going to be the remainder of the semi-final tie, and then I guess we're going to find out who we're going to be playing as we're in that final four of this cup competition. So be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, you can join the members club as well, links in the video description. You get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members only content as well. Get your emojis in the comment section below. Of course, usually this show is live during January when there's a transfer window going on every morning. 9 a.m. is the transfer view. Once we're out of January, Matchday Reloaded will be back 9 a.m. live with you guys the day after a big match or whatever match. Any Manchester United matches, we'll be covering it here. So let's get straight into the quotes from Erik ten Hag after the game. First of all, a couple of stats, because I know you're like me. I know all of you guys are like me. I feel like me and you, you and I, the UV community, together, we are in sync. And you love some stats. So I'm going to give you some stats. Erik ten Hag is the fastest ever Manchester United manager to reach 20 victories. The fastest ever. Ever. Full stop. Period. End of sentence. Not bad for someone who lost his first 2 games at Manchester United as well. Another stat. Do you want another one? I'll give you another one. Marcus Rashford has now scored in 8 consecutive home games for Manchester United, becoming the first player to do so since Wayne Rooney in March of 2010. Just going to show the form that Rashi is in right now. Now, speaking after the game, Erik ten Hag said, quote, I said before the game, no ifs, buts, or maybes. We have to be in the semi-final, and we did the job. And that's the most important thing. We can talk about performances, and was it a scintillating, memorable performance by United last night? The answer would be no, it was not. It was not that. And the important thing, as Ten Hag says, is that we got the job done. We did what was expected of us. Those kind of games last night, whilst it's a really favourable draw, and it was, we were afforded the ability and the opportunity to rotate heavily, and we did last night, they can be banana skin games. I was surprised that this was the game that wasn't televised yesterday, because you would have thought the story of the quarterfinals really could have been if Manchester United had slipped up. And you never know. Charlton, a League One side, not even a side that's really thriving in League One either. They're a mid-table League One side, but you never know in football, especially in the Carabao Cup with the way that it's structured. You know, it can get to the end of the game. We could have dominated the whole game. It'd been 1-0. They could have equalised late in the last minute. It goes straight to penalties, and then they knock us out. And to be honest, I think that might have been Charlton's game plan anyway. So, as Ten Hag said, we did the job. And as he said before the game, no ifs, buts, or maybes. We have to be in that semi-final, because he sees the opportunity here. He sees the teams that are not in this competition. He sees that the likes of Arsenal are out, Liverpool are out, and others, Chelsea are out. He sees that it's really us, City and Newcastle, the big teams left in. And we'll see who we get in the semi-final. You would hope maybe City and Newcastle get each other, they eliminate themselves, and then we get a favourable draw again. There's nothing shameful about it either. People that will say, oh, you want to beat the best teams? Of course you do, but you want to beat the best teams in the final. You want to let the competition eliminate themselves. It gives you the better opportunity. And the important thing, as Ten Hag said, is that we got the job done last night. He also says, quote, the only thing I wasn't happy with was that we should have finished earlier by finding that key pass. I think we could have rounded off the game much quicker. Again, 3-0 is a scoreline that I wouldn't say flatters us, because you can see the match stats on the side of the screen there. We dominated the game, It could have and should have been done earlier. Maybe it got a little bit more tense in those last few minutes because it was 1-0 until the 90th minute. That's when Rashford gets his second, then a couple minutes later into stoppage time he gets a third, and it looks very comfortable. But we were never in jeopardy. We were always in control of the game. If anything, you just felt like the game just drifted, particularly in that second half. And, you know, the pace did slow down a little bit. And, you know, Ten Hag tried to bring on big players like Casemiro, like Rashford, who ultimately did make a difference and did improve us, and Facundo as well, who did improve us. But the game drifted away and it just kind of felt like it was petering out. And I think Ten Hag would have wanted something a bit more decisive than that. But even the subs he made didn't really give that impetus, I guess, like he was expecting to, which was interesting. He said, quote, "I think we offered them too much, and if we did, then Tom Heaton was there." Tom Heaton, of course, actually made his competitive Manchester United first team debut, full senior debut, which is crazy to think, considering he did come through the academy. And then, of course, went to so many clubs over his career. But that was, I think, his first start, I believe, in as a Manchester United player. I might be wrong there. You can let me know in the comment section below. But he continues, Ten Hag, saying, "I think we should have finished it earlier, but the objective was to reach the semi-final. So compliments to the team." He also spoke about those aforementioned subs that we spoke about. Easy for me to say. Those subs. I've got to slow down on the talking. I'm so excited. That's why. Matchday Reloaded. Panenka Studios. About the subs he made. The likes of Rashford coming on. Casemiro coming on. Christian Eriksen coming on. Facundo coming on, etc. He said, quote, "That was the plan before. I had to bring them on to sustain the rhythm for the coming games." Basically saying those players, the Casemiros, the Rashfords, the Eriksens, they're going to be starting. Obviously, they're going to be starting against Manchester City on Saturday. And he didn't want to give them the game off. He wanted to have them play 45 minutes just so it keeps the engine ticking over a little bit because they're in such great form. At the same time, while you don't want them to get injured or be too tired when the weekend comes around, you also just want to maintain it, keep the momentum going, keep the confidence going. And in the case of Rashford, talk about playing a blinder because he brings Rashford on for less than 45 minutes. He gets 2 goals. Now he's going into the weekend really even more in form, even more confidence, which is really positive as well. He continues saying, "One of the qualities of this team is that the substitutes are ready to come on, contribute and really play well." And certainly they did. So Ten Hag happy, United happy, and we're into a semi-final. And again, really, really positive performance. You know, people can talk about individual players, and we will talk about individual players as we go through today. Of course, we're going to get reactions from the likes of Flex, KG, Marcel, and others outside Old Trafford last night. But what ultimately matters, especially in cup competition, what ultimately matters, it's results. As I mentioned, whenever we've won the Carabao Cup, League Cup, EFL Cup, Worthington Cup, Carling Cup, whatever you want to call it in the past, do you remember who we beat in the quarterfinals? No, you don't. You remember if you won the competition or not. That's what matters. And we have put ourselves in a good position. And as time goes on, again, you've got a manager that's got the fastest, they've got to 20 victories in the quickest amount of time. You've got a team that's in form. You've got players that are in form. And you've got momentum, and that's the positive thing. So really pleased with the win last night. Professional job, and now we move forward, and now we look forward to the weekend. We look forward to playing Manchester City in the Manchester Derby at Old Trafford. But what did Flex think? Let's get Flex's thought outside Old Trafford. Of course, Diogo Dalot came off, a bit of the judge. We'll talk about that later on. But what did Flex think? Here are his thoughts on Manchester United's 3-0 victory over Charlton in the Carabao Cup quarter-final.
Look, it wasn't the best performance, but it's job done. And actually, if I go back to, the positivity side of it and looking at where we are, it's just momentum, man. We've got a massive game against City here on the weekend, and we are in perfect form to take them on. Marcus Rashford coming off the bench and scoring 2 goals. He just looks electric. Anytime he's on the ball, you just think he's going to score. It's like an inevitability. Is that 7 goals in a row now or 8 goals in a row? One of the 2. It's just so good to see him back. He's considering where he was last year, and how far off it he was, mentally, as a player, as himself, as the guy that we all know he can be, as the player that we all know he can be. To see him playing like this is so good to see. And it doesn't matter who it's against, whether it's in the Premier League, whether it's the Carabao Cup, whether it's the FA Cup, and hopefully here at home against City, he's put himself in a position now where we can say, Rashford is back, and he is banging form, almost the form of his life. He's a completely different player. Every time he gets the ball, I'm thinking he's going to score. he's going to score. Or if he doesn't start the game, like against Wolves, like tonight, he's coming off the bench and he's impacting the game at all times. So we can't ask for much more than that. We're so proud of him to see him doing really well. Roll on City, man. We've got to be at it. Diogo Dalot, injured. There hasn't been anything yet from Eric Ten Hag. I hope it was precautionary. It just had to happen, innit? It just had to happen. I feel really bad for him. Everyone's saying I judged it. Everyone's saying it's my fault. I can assure you it's not. I asked him. It wasn't. I asked him how he was. He says he was fine. There was about 40 other fans and people there that he was all touching and taking pictures with and saying hello to. That's just what it is, you know. Unfortunately, maybe his hamstring wasn't as good as he thought it was. Hopefully, he's still all right. But Wan-Bissaka coming in, onto him. He was steady when he came on. And actually, I remember when we were talking before Dalot came back, when Wan-Bissaka played those first 3 games after the World Cup, and played himself right into contention to the point where, okay, we know that Dalot is still first choice, and rightly so. He's earned that spot. But the fact that, the prospect of Wan-Bissaka having to come in against Man City, I'm fine with that. I don't see that as a problem at all. So roll on Manchester City, roll.
The judge, Flex, the judge. Oh no. I mean, we spoke about this in depth this morning on the transfer review, so be sure to check that out. But the judge is very real. Make no mistake, the judge is very real with Flex. I jest, I joke, of course. Ten Hag has said that he was taken off as a precaution. I think the hope is that he will be available and ready for the weekend. Whether or not he is, we'll have to wait and see. But look, to Flex's point, it's almost like the Wan-Bissaka form has come at just the right time, because Dalot comes back from the World Cup injured. He's got this hamstring issue, and if Wan-Bissaka hadn't had this run of games where he has been quite impressive, you'd have said, oh no, bringing Wan-Bissaka back in for the Manchester derby, how is he going to deal with Foden or Bernardo Silva or Grealish or Mahrez or whatever side they're playing on? All of those players, how are they going to deal with that? How is he going to deal with that Wan-Bissaka? Oh dear. But because he's had this decent run of games, because he's actually played okay, you say to yourself, actually, if he does play, it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe he can do a job in that game. Now, personally, I'd rather have Dalot play. I'm more comfortable with Diogo Dalot playing, but also I'm more comfortable with a fully fit Wan-Bissaka over a half-fit Diogo Dalot. If Dalot's got a hamstring issue, and that's what it appears to be, if he felt a twinge last night, then hamstrings are very unpredictable and you just have to let them heal. I don't want a 50 or 75% Diogo Dalot having to face up against those wingers at the weekend, because we know how that's going to go. If Diogo Dalot's holding back even 10% or something like that, that could be the difference. So we can't afford that, particularly in a game against the quality of City. So maybe it will be a case of having to go with Wan-Bissaka. Maybe it will be a situation where we go down that route. When it comes to Marcus Rashford, as Flex says, clearly the form of his life. I mean, there's no doubting that at this point. The guy is in absolutely terrific form. He just cannot stop scoring. He can't stop scoring at this point. And even when it is in cameo games like last night, his cameo performances in sort of lesser games like last night, he's coming on, he's getting opportunities, he's getting goals. And when he is getting opportunities, he's scoring them. That's the positive thing too. Now, again, at the weekend, you would probably think he starts on the left-hand side, which is important. You'd think Martial will be playing through the middle. He didn't play last night. He wasn't in the squad, as he shouldn't be. We need him for the weekend, and we need him, most importantly, not to get injured again. So we can't afford to play him in games like last night. That's why we're trying to sign Wout Weghorst on loan. Rashford, I think, again, this is why it's important to sign Weghorst on loan, is because you don't want to have to, because Martial gets injured, play Rashford through the middle. Yes, he can do a job there, and yes, one of his goals last night, ironically, was kind of playing through the middle. I think it was the second one. He sort of receives it through the middle. But again, where he's really affecting the game positively is off the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And you don't want to change that, particularly for a player that's in form. So Rashford goes into that Manchester derby at the weekend. He goes into it ready. He goes into it as ready as he probably ever will be. Marcus Rashford, going into a Manchester derby, has probably never been in this level of form, never been in this level of physical condition, never in this level of having the confidence this high. So it's a real positive for Rashford at the moment. And City are going to be aware of him. They can say what they want, but they're going to be concerned. Of course, they're going to be worried about him. So again, I think that it's a real positive for Marcus Rashford heading into that game. And as I said earlier on, Ten Hag played a blinder. He absolutely got it right, saying he wanted to continue momentum and continue rhythm, but he's also built confidence even higher. Marcus Rashford, you can just tell by his body language, he feels unstoppable at this point, and he looks it too. Speaking of unstoppable, Casemiro. Whoa, Casemiro, whoa. Because, again, comes on, and it looks like, I mean, again, I know it's a mid-table League One side in the Carabao Cup, but still, it looks like English football's too easy for him. He is so much, I've been saying this so many times now, but he is so much more than just a ball winner. It does a disservice to Casemiro just to say that he's a ball winner, because he's so much more. He was gliding around that pitch last night when he came on, spraying the ball around, just sort of stroking the ball. Brilliant passes. I mean, for the goal for Rashford, I think his third one, where he passes it to Facundo. He's starting off moves. It's just too easy. It's just way too easy for Casemiro. And he didn't play against Manchester City last time at the Etihad. And now the difference, he is so important. So important. That midfield, the pairing with Christian Eriksen is great, but I would feel like if you had a situation where it was like Casemiro's available, Eriksen's not, you go, that's a drag. Eriksen's a good player, links the play up really well, technically gifted, great passes, but we'll do what we can. If Casemiro's not on that pitch, you can't replace him. You cannot replace him. His quality is just too immense, and his form is too immense right now. He's just been absolutely sensational. He really has. Now, let's talk to KG. I spoke to KG after the game last night, and he had a lot of praise for one Facundo.
Stop scoring, but I think we have to remember the spark. And the spark in that moment was when you bring on Facundo. I had to drop a bomb for him because, again, he comes on the pitch and it changes. He comes on and you could tell that there was an energy on the right-hand side that was needed in that moment when the game had kind of gone through it's gone through its moments and stuff. And Facundo, bit quick feet, and he just seemed like he's on it. He like, I need to do something. I need to impress. I've got a short time. It's a short cameo appearance. And then again, the other players I don't know if it gave the other players energy, but I know Charlton, the momentum is switched to a Charlton favor where Charlton scored, it goes to penalties. And it's, again, great game management. Get moved to, be 1-0 in the last 5 minutes, go for it. Now, Facundo changes the game, and then after the other players react, you get Rashford running a bit more, and you get Casemiro and Rashford. Again, as you said, the Rashford point, Rashford's what 7 and 6? That's crazy. Yeah, forget about the opposition. Rashford's finding the back of the net. That's the most important thing to say. And again, Casemiro, big game Miro, Clasimiro, however you describe this person, yeah, he can't stop. He can't stop doing what he's doing. He's incredible.
Is Facundo the answer to the backup solution to the right-hand side?
He can't be. He's a great he's an option now. Now we know that, again, Crystal Palace, the games like Man United playing every 3 or certain days. Now you're saying to yourself, well, if he can help out, we missed out on Jan Felix, and I think Jan Felix would have probably played wide. Tried to give the first team players a bit of reprieve. If he's a player that we can now introduce to the squad to help out, it's an option. Again, it's like buying a new player because he's not been involved. This guy has been out in the cold for the longest time. So again, if he can come in certain games just to change things or give players a rest.
KG talking about Facundo there. You know what? Facundo Palestri, when he came on last night, did really well. And I think that he offers something similar to what Garnacho offers on the left-hand side, in that he is so direct. He gets to the ball and he runs. And I think that in today's day and age, when it comes to football, sometimes wingers or wide players, we're obsessed with inside forwards or cutting inside or shifting it onto your opposite foot and whatever. But sometimes still the most challenging thing as a defender is when you've got a player that's got the ball at their feet and they'll run at you and they're quick at running at you. It's difficult to defend against. So I thought Facundo did well. I do want to talk about Anthony as well, because obviously Anthony starts the scoring last night. Brilliant goal. A brilliant goal, and he's got that ability in him. I mean, we've got City at the weekend. He scored a similar goal against City at the Etihad, where he's on that right-hand side, shifts it to his preferred left foot, and just whips it, guides it into the side netting past the goalkeeper. It's a brilliant goal. And that's 2 in 2 for him, 2 in consecutive games. And yet there is still this scrutiny on him, or this want to see more. I don't know what the right way to phrase it. I still do think, look, if he's scoring goals in every game and we still want to see more, one, our standards are very high, but two, I'm happy him doing what he's doing right now. If he's contributing in terms of scoring goals, you can't ask for much more. Now, do you want to see him be a bit more direct? Do you want to see him take on players? Do you want to see him improve that right foot? Yeah. The right foot really isn't there, and sometimes, especially when we're still in this transitional phase where we're not all of the way to Ten Hag ball just yet, we're not completely dominating games all the time. We are still sometimes playing in transition, playing on the counter-attacks. Do you want to see him travel with the ball more and just get the ball into the box? Yeah, that's not his game, and maybe it needs to be sort of trained out of him or coached into him. I don't know. He will start at the weekend. I have no doubt about that. Is Facundo Pellistri going to drive him out of the side? No. Is Facundo going to be an option? He could be. We don't know what's going on with Jadon Sancho, at the moment, when it comes to when he's going to be coming back. So we don't know when he's going to come back. And Alanga could go out on loan in January to Everton. I mean, we'd be a bit light on the right-hand side. And Facundo could be a legitimate option. Pellistri has had a couple of loan offers so far in the January transfer window. Whether or not he's going to stay, we don't know. Ten Hag did say after the game he was happy with his performance and he does see a future for him. So I have to wait and see. But as far as Anthony, again, if he's getting goals and if he's scoring goals, I think then we can lay off the rest. Is there still room for improvement? Absolutely. Absolutely there's room for improvement. But I'm fairly happy with what I'm seeing at the moment. Again, I do want to see him improve his right foot. I do want to see him not be as predictable. And if your only thing is you cut inside and you whip it with your left foot, then you have to be Arjen Robben level, whereby you're unstoppable. And he's not there just yet. On the opposite side, Alejandro Garnacho started last night. Once again, was brilliant. I mean, he is such a talent. He really is such a talent. And I know that people can get worried about, you're gassing up a youngster or you're overhyping a youngster. He's the real deal. The only thing that kind of lets him down at the moment is his decision making sometimes, and that final ball, that final pass, or that final shot. But the fact that he's a teenager, and we're saying that's like the only thing he needs to improve on, and also maybe his physicality, but that will come with age, then he's a special player, because at this real tender age in his career, the fact that he gets the ball and he's willing to take people on, and people can't get anywhere near him and they're struggling against him, that decision making, that final pass, that final shot, that will come. I don't want to compare him to like a Ronaldo or anything like that, but those kind of players in which he is direct, difficult to defend against, if they can get that composure or that decision-making trained into them, he'd be unstoppable. He really would. So I think the future is really bright under Alejandro Garnacho, particularly under this manager, under Erik ten Hag, who I believe will get the best out of him. Now, let's talk to Marcel. What did Marcel have to say last night? Of course, it didn't feature a David De Gea performance. Tom Heaton was in goal. Marcel didn't bring that up, though. Marcel had his thoughts after Manchester United's Carabao Cup quarter-final victory.
Rashford's just it's like, what can look, it doesn't matter if it's against Charlton or whether it's against City, Arsenal, or whatever. It doesn't matter. This kid, it's so good to see him just back at it. Like, he's scoring all types of goals.
All types of goals. And we are one to normally say, if he has 5 chances, it's 2 that he scores. Yeah. But right now, he's just so potent in front of goal. Every time I see him get a chance in front of goal, I believe he's going to score. And that's 2 goals in quick succession, 2 quick fire goals. It closes the game for us, and we can go home happy now. And I think that's what we have to really look at today. It was important for him to score those goals. We got a big game on Saturday. Delo unfortunately injured for that game.
Everyone say, I know.
I don't even want to say. Oh, you're saying it.
No, but you can't get. Look, you don't know what it is. You don't been saying it. It weren't nothing to do with me. The guy told me he was all right. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But then maybe that's the point. They're saying he said he was all right, and then I touched him, and then he's not. But
fair enough.
It is what it is. Hopefully that's precautionary. We don't know. We don't know yet.
It's true.
But I was saying, even before Dalot came back, when Wan-Bissaka had them like 3 good games in a row, it's like, even if you had to play him against the City or what, you kind of got a little bit of confidence in him. Well, no, not even a little bit. I'm going to give him respect. I've got confidence in him that he can have a good performance if we have to play him against him.
And I believe exactly what you said there. I mean, driving with the ball at times, making good decisions, big tackles, especially in the second half. He came alive, man, and he's doing well. He's doing really well. And against a player like Jack Grealish that likes to challenge you, likes to go 1v1, you want someone that's a bit brave defensively first anyway, and that's what he's doing. Decent combinations at time, I think. I don't know who's going to link up with ahead of him. I don't know if it's going to be Anthony. It most probably will be Anthony. You know, I think that he doesn't want to take on, you know, Anthony drives with the ball and he waits for the whole team to come back a lot. You know, in the second half that happened a couple of times. I think it's just, I don't know if it's the decision maker. I don't want to go into it too much because it's a beautiful, well-whipped.
That's what he has got in the locker. Yeah.
It's a beautiful, well-whipped strike, and he tried it again in the second half as well at times, but that didn't come through for him. But Facundo came on and it was brilliant. She was really good. Tidy footballer, Flex. And, you know, with good dribbling, good carry the ball, good decision. I think he gets the assist for the goal.
Big up Marcel, Mr. Positivity, the optimist. Marcel talking to Flex outside Old Trafford there. He didn't bring up Tom Heaton, but I know Marcel's so closely associated with David De Gea and all that kind of stuff. But I thought Tom Heaton did really well last night. I think that he didn't really have any big saves to make, but what he did have to do, he did well. I thought actually his commanding of the box was really good. A couple of balls into the box, and Charlton were a big team. There were some real big players for Charlton in that team, and every time there was a ball in the box, Heaton came out, claimed it, was very composed. His distribution was good. Not saying to all those people out there that Heaton should be playing instead of David De Gea, but this is kind of the point that I think Flex and myself and others had been making recently when we were saying Tom Heaton's better than Martin Dubravka. Dubravka's gone back to Newcastle, but Heaton was always the better goalkeeper. So in those Carabao Cup games, Heaton should have been playing. I know we've signed Jack Butland now, and what his role will be at United, I don't know whether he's second choice or third choice, but in my opinion, the second choice should be Tom Heaton. He's not a bad goalkeeper. He's come through the academy as well. Yes, he's gone to other clubs throughout his career, but he came through the academy. He understands the ethos of United, and that's what makes him a really important number two as well, in that those goalkeepers that aren't going to play games, they're still around the squad and they have to be a positive influence. You know, I look at Man City and you've got, is it Scott Carson? Is still like number 3 or 4th choice, whatever number he is. They're never going to play games, but they reckon he's just so great to have around the dressing room and around the camp that they want to keep him around. Now, I think Tom Heaton's way better than that and way more than that. But my point being is that he's a positive influence. He understands the ethos of United. He's gone through the journey of an academy player, and I thought he did well last night. Now, is he going to play in the semi-final? Depends who it's against. I think this is the stage of the tournament. The Carabao Cup's one of those games that once it gets to the semi-final, you then start taking it really seriously because you're a couple of games away from a final at Wembley and a piece of silverware. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But I thought Tom Heaton did really well last night, so shout out to him. As far as some other people as well, Fred and McTominay started last night. I thought McTominay was quite poor, actually. I thought his passing was off. I thought he just didn't look at it. Fred was okay. Some forward passes, hits the post from a free kick as well. But again, in these roles, this is where I have no issue of having Fred and McTominay at the club, honestly. Again, it's not a case of we're going into that Manchester derby going, oh, we're going to have McTominay and Fred in midfield. No, we're going into that Manchester derby knowing it's going to be Casemiro and Christian Eriksen in midfield, and the upgrade is just ginormous. And then if we are winning the game, and we need to see it out, or we need a bit more energy in there, you can bring on Fred, and that's a good substitute to bring on. You can bring on McTominay, again, for energy or putting a foot in, especially in a Manchester derby. He's had decent Manchester derby performances, actually, in the past, particularly at Old Trafford. So they're okay squad players. The issue has always been, in my opinion, with McTominay and Fred is them being starters. They're not starters now. Now, last night, as I mentioned, McTominay against Charlton was particularly poor. Thought Fred was okay. But that's their role at United, and they're going to have to understand that that's their role moving forward. Let's get some more reaction. Here's Flex talking to more fans outside Old Trafford after United's 3-0 victory over Charlton last night.
Garnacho was at it. He was very direct. A great goal from Anthony as well.
Very direct. I thought it was direct but a little bit wasteful. But however, when he must have looked in the front line at the sound of him, he had a Langer, Fred or whatever, there was no movement for him. I think you put him with Rashford, you put him with Bruno. It's a different player again. I will again pay tribute to Harry Maguire. I thought tonight we needed him for his physical presence alone. Alanga, McTominay, very wasteful. No, I thought we struggled, and I think Ten Hag must have looked on that bench and thought, I've got Rashford here, Casemiro, Eriksen, you're going on. No, I'm going on because, and I'm thinking to myself, 70 minutes now, we're only 1-0 up, and these lads were still at it. They were still at it, the Charlton, and I thought they're putting balls in the box. I thought we've got to take control in the middle. Game changed. Took about 5 or 10 minutes, and then you just see the difference. This is the new Man United. This is Casemiro. This is spraying balls. This is Rashford, who's in the form of his life.
What's going on? He's just a completely different player.
We all have opinions about Rashford. He's better off the left. He's better off the right. Tonight, he was straight down the middle. He was a proper centre-forward. 2 goals. Excellent. I'm a little bit concerned for Darlow because he's just getting back into it. But with the City game, as we've got it on Saturday, I think we have to play Wan-Bissaka at right back. We've got to go short left back. We've got to go we've got to go Varane and Martinez.
Yeah.
And the shock, my shock will be that I want to see us in the first 60 minutes just nullify them. I just want us to see us nullify them because too many big games in the past against Man City, the game's been over after 15 minutes. And if they go 1 or 2 up, you're not...
Yes. Harry Maguire did start last night. The captain, of course, amid rumours he was going to be leaving United because he was having dinner in the Midlands, so he was going to Aston Villa. No, Harry Maguire's not going anywhere. For now, in the summer, anything's possible, certainly. As to his performance last night, Maguire and Lindelof, I mean, they did okay. They did Maguire and Martinez, excuse me. They did fine. Martinez getting some game time back in his legs. I would expect him to start against Manchester City at the weekend. Maguire, again, he did fine. He did what he did. I think it was a really good point mentioned there that it was the game for him. And again, this is smart management by Erik ten Hag once more of noticing, okay, this is probably a game for Harry Maguire. Not just because it's a lesser opponent, but to the point that was just made, Charlton, they're going to try and make up that gulf in terms of technical quality by being physical. They had a lot of big players in there. So Maguire, he loves to wrestle around with people, and I thought he did fairly well. A couple of nice balls sprayed out. He won't and shouldn't be anywhere near that starting 11 at the weekend. If he started for United against Manchester City, I would be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. And again, it's not to say Maguire won't play games for United for the remainder of the season. He will. We've got a lot of games. Is he going to play in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup? Again, depends who we have. Depends who we get drawn against. And depends on our status in other competitions at that period of time as well. There's a lot to consider with that. But his role for the remainder of the season is going to be playing games like this. He'll play against Reading in the FA Cup. He might come on against City for 10 minutes, again, if we're winning, to try and shore things up. That's what he's going to do. As far as his long-term future, I wouldn't be shocked, rather, if he went in the summer. I think he could be on his way out. Clearly, he's not in favour. He's not the first choice centre-back. Or even in that pairing, it's Martinez and Varane. After that, I wouldn't even say he's the third choice, because I think the third choice might even now be Luke Shaw. And after that, it might be Victor Lindelof. And then it's Maguire. So he might be like fifth choice at this period of time. So long term, no. But last night, I think he did fine. He did okay. Let's get some more reaction outside Old Trafford. Here's Flex talking to some more fans.
Before I start, I just want to do something quickly. Marcus Rashford, he has that ability of Mbappe, and when his decision making improves, he's gonna be up there.
You said this last week as well, in like the Mbappe bit as well, like
because he doesn't get that credit. Obviously, we know he has been down the last few seasons, and again, you know, obviously that's due to mental illness or injury. But I mean, look at him again. He's not scared, he's fearless, and he has that aura about him. And I've never doubted his ability, but his decision-making has always let him down. But now, you know, maybe it's the Ten Hag effect, maybe he's fully fit again. But Rashford is just a menace, and he's going to take over the world.
Do you know what, with this form, because with Rashi, it's like sometimes it's in patches.
Yeah.
And that's like sometimes a worry where you think, I hope it's not just for these little 10 games and then we kind of go, but it doesn't feel that. Does it feel like he's here to stay at this level? He's back and he's here to stay.
Obviously at the moment we just go off of what we see, and like I said, the aura he has in the stadium, as soon as he gets the ball, everyone's standing up. Who knows, maybe it's a purple patch, but maybe he's actually changed. I think under Ten Hag, I think he has changed. He's looking like a different player. Like I said, his decision making has improved. So yeah, hopefully it's not a purple patch. I don't think so, but yeah.
Going on other players tonight, who else impressed you?
Maguire, surprisingly. It's like he's found his level against Charlton. I'm not even lying. Trust me. And who else? I'd say Garnacho. But that guy's always amazing to watch. But I think the progression of him will be incredible. I'm trying to think who else played all right. Heaton had an all right game, you know.
Do you know what? No one's really mentioned Tom Heaton, actually. Actually, he was very assured. And what I liked about him was his willingness to get up quick and actually distribute the ball.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Marcel, he's nodding and smiling behind the camera. Didn't mention it in your own fan view, did you? So you didn't care that much.
Shameless Marcel behind the camera nodding, going, yeah, see. You didn't even bring it up, Marcel. You disgrace, you're a cheat. Let's look a little bit forward in the last few minutes here to the game at the weekend, Manchester Derby at Old Trafford. I'm going into it confident. We're going to have a ton more preview here on the channel. We're going to have previews from Flex and Natalie Pike. We're going to have combined 11s. We're going to be discussing it at length. Huge game in a huge couple of weeks for United. But I think last night again it was perfect continuation of momentum for United. And yes, a 3-0 maybe somewhat flatters us in terms of the 2 goals were really late on, but I think everything went near enough to how Ten Hag would have wanted it to. He made a lot of changes. He played young players. Kobbie Mainoo, we haven't even spoken about him, which I thought he did really well when he played. I thought he looked assured, confident on the ball. He was actually way more technically solid than Scott McTominay was on the ball throughout the entirety of the game. So I think a huge shout out to Kobbie Mainoo, 17 years of age, playing in a Carabao Cup quarter-final at Old Trafford. I thought a real good first-team debut, so a huge amount of credit to him. But Ten Hag made those sweeping changes, and he should, against a League One side, a mid-table League One side in the Carabao Cup. But it still did pay off, and he brought those more senior players on that are in great form, like Rashford, like Casemiro, and they continued their form. And somehow we sort of managed to go into Saturday's game at Old Trafford with even more momentum, that extra level of momentum, and it's a real massive positive for United. So I don't think we should be afraid of City. I think that they should be afraid of us, and it's going to be a real big game, and here's hoping we get that result, certainly. As far as Ten Hag, as I've said a million times, I'm all in on this manager at this point. I think whatever he wants, give it to him. If it's Wout Weghorst, if it's whoever, give him what he wants. He's been proven. He's the fastest manager to 20 victories at United. He is building. I still don't think he's getting the credit that he deserves from maybe the wider football community or pundits or ex-players or whatever. Is that because they don't want to see United doing well? Is that because they're just focused so much on those first 2 games? It's like the only games that these sort of pundits or other people watching football are focused on this season for United. The only 2 games they watched was Brighton at home and Brentford away, and they've decided, oh, United are rubbish. Well, since then, only one team's got more points than us in the Premier League. That's Arsenal. Our form since then has been absolutely sensational. Or they just focus on the defeats. They focus on City at the Etihad and go, oh, United. You know, so I think this weekend also is another great marker for Ten Hag. So you should really pay attention to us. So here's hoping we get that result. And as far as a trophy, look, if we were to get a trophy this season in Erik ten Hag's first season, that would be absolutely brilliant. The priority, I think, has to be top 4, because I think if we do get top 4, which we're in a real good position for, again, a lot can and will change between now and the end of the season. I think if we can get that top 4, it puts us in a fantastic position for next season, because not only will we have Champions League football, but you would assume by then we will have those new owners. And once we get those new owners in, depending on who they are, we can have a real big summer. We can offer people Champions League football. We can offer people a project. We can offer people a manager who looks like he's doing things, and offer them the project of United really being that sleeping giant that's waking up. So huge amount of positivity there. But as I mentioned, there's still a real long amount of time to go between now and then. And there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be defeats. We are not going to go through the remainder of the season without losing games. There are going to be disappointing moments, but the positive even from those will be is every time we've had a setback this season, whether it was Brighton at home, whether it was Brentford away, whether it was Aston Villa away, we have come back better and we've reacted, and Ten Hag has learnt from those situations. He learns his lessons, and I think he enforces those lessons on his squad, and the squad becomes better because of it. We play better football because of it. I think that, you know, if you haven't bought into Ten Hag, my belief is that you will soon, because I'm seeing a lot of positive things. And as I keep saying, Man United are good. And there's a lot to be positive about right now. So there you go, guys. Appreciate you joining me for another episode of Match Day Reloaded. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the UV Members Club. Links in the video description. You get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members-only content as well. As I mentioned, there is so much UV content on the horizon now. The football season is back, up and running. We're out of that holiday period, and now we're up to game after game after game after game. In the build-up to the Manchester derby at the weekend, we're going to have previews, combined 11s, plenty of content, plus transfer views every morning as well. It's a great time to be a fan of UV. So be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace!